Conspiracies, diseases, strange time travel, all the ingredients to make your stay on this mysterious island more than interesting. All very mysterious. In the middle of an unknown beach, a young man with blue hair wakes up disoriented, and with no idea what has happened or to where the sun shines on the golden sand, and the soothing sound of the waves crashing on the shore fills the air near the spot. Four young girls stroll down the street on their way to school. Among them, one of the girls experiences a strange feeling that she makes him separate from the group. Following her instinct, she goes into the beach and, surprised, she finds the young man with blue hair lying on the sand, and she runs quickly to his aid, but unfortunately she trips and falls on top of him, awkwardly revealing that the young man is completely naked. Later, at the town police station, the young woman waits anxiously for news about the state of the car. The kind policeman on duty informs her that she can leave, indicating that there is no news for the moment. Uncertainty and worry fill her mind as they return home, and that's it. The young man, now dressed in clothes provided by the authorities, leaves the interrogation room of the police station and kindly approaches the policeman and confides in his lack of memory, and the only certainty he has is his mission to save someone as traveler of the time from the future. Despite his bewilderment, the young man shows an optimistic attitude, but his smile fades momentarily when he remembers that his mission also implies the need to kill someone. Although he does not know the identity of his target, the policeman, without excessively displaying the weapon. For this reason, a shocking revelation mentions that they found a compact disc in the place where they found it, warning him to be careful since it almost traumatized the young student he discovered at that moment. The young man experiences a strange flashback in which he also sees himself next to the student, feeling a mixture of grief and bewilderment due to the difference in their ages and the inappropriate nature of his thoughts towards a high school student. As he struggles to recover his memory, the young man discovers that the town he is in is actually a small island. This revelation increases even more his curiosity, and he raises new questions about his whereabouts and the circumstances that led him there. Suddenly, the policeman receives an urgent phone call from the mayor of the town. The mayor demands that the young man be expelled from the island immediately, invoking an ancient tradition that the policeman prohibits the presence of strangers. Although he says he is not doing his duty and escorts the young man to the port where his transfer off the island is arranged, the young man expresses his desire to stay, but the policeman explains that the island is an isolated community, that he distrusts strangers, so he considers it best for him to leave at that moment. The policeman receives another call from the mayor, this time with worrying news: his daughter Karen has disappeared. The officer's distraction allows the young man to take the opportunity to escape, searching for answers and a connection to his past. By coincidence or destiny, the young man meets Karen again, the same young woman who found him on the beach. They both experience another awkward moment when the young man almost kisses her, but she wakes up just in time to avoid it. Karen, in fear due to the situation, he flees once more, and the policeman goes in search of him, leaving the young man on the island for a while longer. While he walks along the beach, the young man is attracted by the sound of the waves and the brightness of the stars in the night sky. Tired, he lies down on the sand and falls asleep, immersing himself in a strange dream full of enigmas and symbolism. Upon awakening, he meets a curious young woman with blue hair who walks along the same beach. She approaches him curiously and, to his surprise, calls by his name Rinne. He introduces himself as Setsuna, thus revealing a mysterious link between them. Later, at Rinne's mansion, the young woman explains to the police officer that Setsuna is a new butler, but he has lost his memory due to an accident. After the policeman's departure, the two young people talk, and Setsuna confesses her temporary origin, although she understands that it is hard to believe. However, Rinne not only believes her but also confesses that she herself is a time traveler with no clear memories of her past kingdom. Her mother presents June, who lives secluded in her room and communicates with notes slipped under the door. Setsuna's arrival is approved, and thus the protagonists are presented sharing a destiny intertwined with the night advancing. Each one of them is immersed in a dream full of strangeness and visions. Peculiar, when he wakes up, he does not find the queen sleeping next to his bed, who justifies his presence as a precautionary measure due to her mistrust of him. After breakfast, a young woman dressed as a priestess knocks on the door of the mansion. Her name is Sarah, and asks him Setsuna to accompany her since she has relevant information about her mission as a time traveler. Together they set out on a path, while quarreling tries to follow them but stops, fearful of sunlight. thus revealing a particularity that she returns to the sanctuary. Sarah reveals the possibility that someone found his memories, which would explain his lack of details about his mission. Also suggests that his connection to Rinne could have a significant influence on his situation. In a comic twist, Sarah tries to attack Setsuna but fails, and both end up forging a friendship. In the middle of the confusion and misunderstandings that night, the young protagonist meets Rinne again while she walks along the beach. At that moment, the two share a walk under the moonlight while Rinne sings a beautiful song that deeply moves the young man. Shed tears of emotion and longing for dawn. Except Setsuna wakes up in the mansion and decides to open the windows to let the sunlight in. However, Rinne quickly stops him, revealing that she is allergic to sunlight and that she suffers from a rare condition that keeps her vulnerable to its rays. Queen Setsuna confesses that she suffers from powdery mildew, which makes her vulnerable to the sun's rays, which is why she always walks on the beach at night. At the beginning of the day, Rinne goes to sleep, leaving a load of her tasks as a servant in the island. Begins the summer vacation, and although many think of resting, some students plan to get summer jobs. Among them is Karen, who is interested in finding a job. After completing her chores, she goes to town with the intention of learning more about illness powdery mildew, since it is the first time he has heard about this syndrome. On his way, our hero meets Karen's friends, who point him in the direction of the library, but upon arrival he finds that it is closed. Instead, he decides to visit Sarah in his temple. Sarah decides to help him, but first you ask her to talk to her since she noted the arrival of the mayor of the town to the temple. Sarah explains that she does not want to talk to the mayor since for some reason he insists on wanting to adopt her. After a fire intentionally destroy the temple and kill her parents, leaving her alone. Realize that she does not know who was responsible for the fire, since on the island many inhabitants do not have a high opinion of the three main families, the Ganduhara and Kunutsu, due to the legends that surround them as founders of the island. According to legend, in the past, the daughters of these Karen families lived in peace on the island before they separated from the mainland. However, by chance, the queen and her brother Setsuna fell in love and began to have a relationship. Karen was the first to discover this relationship, but since she was also in love with Setsuna, she rejected the couple and asked a priestess to separate them. The priestess turned the queen into a monster, and the desperate young woman decided to take her own life if Setsuna made a deal with the priestess and Sarah. And it was prophesied that in the future Rinne copyright would return to life, and the two could meet. These is one she slept for many years on the ice, waiting for the return of her beloved. Over the years, the family will continue reproducing. Each older daughter received the name of one of the original daughters. When a question was asked that has happened with the current families, they only explain that they are still fulfilling their mission to protect the island at all costs. Setsuna the question Sarah about today's illness gave but leaves without answers after the young woman tries to seduce him again. At night, returning home, Setsuna meets Karen in the living room and discovers that she has applied for the job of maid that was previously hers. Both argue, but finally Queen decides to hire the two. The day after, Setsuna Karen perform chores in the city and spend the whole afternoon together while enjoying ice cream, as one discovers that powdery mildew is not exclusive to Rinne, as an old woman who attends to them vanishes to the ground due to the disease. When talking to the town doctor, our hero discovers that a disease can cause death with just 5 minutes of direct exposure to sunlight, and that there is still no cure. Setsuna Karen meet with Sarah, who reveals that hence the blame to the family for the spread of the disease, attributing it to the legend. However, he realizes that the reason the family stopped the island from the mainland was to prevent the disease from spreading to the rest of the world. That night, Asa talks to Rinne's mother, who reveals that her daughter does not have the disease but just an unfounded fear. However, she has never been able to convince Rinne otherwise, so she asks Setsuna to be the one to save her from a life of isolation. The mother explains to him what a scared queen is because of her disappearance and memory loss, which made her start to believe that the real queen of the legend. That night, and our hero tries to start unsuccessfully, gives that he is not the real Setsuna and that there is a real Rinne copyright, but she chooses not to believe. Her friends decide to help Queen and devise a plan to start the young people going out in the daylight. Andra full of the beach, the group meet at Costa and together they improvise a funny and lively scene, making it seem like everything is having a great time. From her room or half asleep, Rinne copyright listens to the noise and integrates it into a dream, imagining that Setsuna and her friends are enjoying themselves, or if laughter on the beach. As Rinne copyright wakes up, she feels curiosity and a slight feeling of jealousy hearing the voices and the fun that are waiting outside. Determined to face her fear, she makes a brave decision and goes to the beach. However, to protect herself from the sunlight, laughing, she dresses as an astronaut suit, which provokes laughter among the group. Although there was also some joy at the partial success of his plan. As the day progressed, he started a conversation with Rinne. He is the one who has returned to his normal clothes. Today he gave, but that he did not want to accept it without his consent. Understanding the importance of a gradual sexual process ensures that he and his friends will be there. I will see in their time and rhythm later. While Sarah and Karen explore the beach, they discover a mysterious cabin in the area of the rocks. Attracted by the curiosity of the group, try to open the door but find that it is closed. At that moment, Rinne experiences a strange sensation and faints. Not that it worries her friends. They decide to take her back to her room, where the doctor informs them that her May was due to a panic attack, recommends to rest. Setsuna invites Karen and Sarah to his room and shows them a diary that he has been writing since he arrived on the island unknowingly. It has become a diary full of mysteries that reflects the various legends and secrets that surround the island, such as the unique disease that affects the inhabitants and the stories of crossed lovers raise questions if everything is somehow connected later. While it takes a year, she had a conversation with Rinne, who has already recovered. She tells you the story of a young man who he met when he was younger, also called Setsuna, who mysteriously disappeared. Although Rinne knows that this is not one of the legends, she asks for permission to continue calling him that way since their friendship and connection are important to her. Setsuna accepts with a smile and everything returns to normal between them. As time passes, the friendship between the protagonists strengthens and the girls begin to trust and love their new friend. They continue to explore the island, unraveling its secrets and facing the challenges that come their way over time. Later, Karen is taken by a company to her house where she meets the father of the young woman, who does not appear in Setsuna's company. Even less that she has gotten a job in the Rinne's mansion. Karen's father considers that her destiny is much greater than that and shows her disapproval clearly. The next day Karen disappears again, which does not surprise Sarah, who understands that the young woman just wants to run away from the island. Worries about her friend and looks for her everywhere until she finds her in her room. Karen, emotionally vulnerable, that balance on him, asking him to sully her later. During one of their late night walks on the beach, Tuna catches up to Queens of recent events that Karen asked her for help to ruin her reputation and thus be responsible for the island in order to continue the world. Admiring Karen's courage to make that decision, decided to help her. The world arrives on the day of Karen's wedding, organized by her father to hunt her down with the son of one of the wealthiest families on the island and thus consolidate their power. They join together and their friends organize to sabotage the ceremony. Getting Karen's father to expel them from La Isla allowed them to stop freedom. Cinnamon, just like her mother during the wedding, they know Karen's brother through the link and the fiancé copyright, who is surprised by her beauty. The ceremony takes place, but at that moment he joins in and breaks masked, interrupting the wedding and demanding Karen to run away with him, humiliating the mayor. Karen accepts the plan and escapes together. As they run away, I have promised Karen, to whom we know how the town policeman gives him the keys to a motorcycle, revealing that he was also involved in the farce and that he did not want to marry or make the young Setsuna. Karen unhappy to the ship that awaits them, but in a stumble a street was thrown into the sea. Waking up, he realizes that everyone on the island was against the wedding, including his brother and the captain of the ship, who expected Karen to take control of her own life. Our two heroes arrive on mainland and Karen, excited to experience the outside world for the first time, marvels at all that the big city has to offer. They travel to the place where Karen's mother supposedly lives, but they discover with a pain that there is only a tombstone indicating that her mother passed away a long time ago. While a young woman cries, Karen approaches them and asks if she is the daughter of Natsumi, whom she mentions as a teacher. The young woman reveals that her mother was a prominent researcher who traveled the world and published numerous studies. Although her mother died in a car accident a year before, young man assures that he lived a happy life dedicated to his passions. After making a stop at a grocery store, our heroes return to the island where Karen's father receives him calmly, having left his anger behind and understanding his daughter's wishes. He is also happy, truly safe and sound. Karen's brother assures that he will take care of calming down their father and points out that it's time to make changes. On the island, Setsuna Karen returned to the Rinne's mansion, where Sarah has become a maid to cover her presence during her stay as a maid. Karen apologizes to Rinne's mother, expressing her wish to have powers to cure powdery mildew. Rinne's mother sincerely thanks all her efforts. Meanwhile, in her temple, Sarah reflects and realizes that the effort is not enough. With her 17th birthday approaching, she realizes that her time to take action and act has become a dream. With a grown woman who looks like Sarah kisses her and asks her to get out into the world, but wakes up before she gets any more details though. When our hero wakes up he finds another curious surprise. Sarah is sleeping next to him as if nothing had happened. Queen appears and gets a little jealous, but Sarah assures him that nothing has happened. She explains that she has made a great discovery and went to see Suna to ask for help, but he arrived too early and found him asleep, so she decided to wait for him and also fell asleep. Once the situation was clarified, the three friends meet at the port and Sarah tells Setsuna and Rinne copyright that according to their investigations collecting and coming to use sea snakes they could find a cure for Ohio syndrome. Sarah asks her it's a cartoon, some sea snakes, and she doesn't know how to swim, and she is sure that nothing will happen to him. Our hero accepts the mission and goes in search of the snakes but suffers an accident in the water and is stung by a jellyfish. So the mission of the snakes will have to wait overnight while she bathes. One was thrown. She receives a visit from Rinne, which is becoming a habit, and the young woman admits that she is a bit jealous of the time she spends with Sarah. The next day Sarah helps her to make her rounds. Messages to the village elders that their services appear. Then the two talk and she tells him a little about her story. Apparently after her birth they stopped being born babies sick with hate for what many considered the young girl as a miraculous girl. They believed that her birth had eradicated the disease. However, after the death of her parents her powers disappeared and the disease returned to the island, for which she feels compelled to find a cure. Also reveals to our hero that his own mother, since he was 17 years old, will travel to the past and become his own mother. He has problems creating him. But they show a photo that he rescued from the fire that killed his parents, and he sees how his mother did not. It only looks like her, but they both have the same mark, so there is no doubt that they are the same person. He finds himself in a complicated family situation in the mansion. Our hero observes a blackboard with his notes, but Rinne copyright, who also investigates a bit, tells him that he has discovered in his family's files the truth about Sarah, his family and his powers. Apparently he will not be able to be the orders of his family manipulated the people of La Isla, murdering babies affected by the disease, or Indian, making people believe that they died of natural causes and only healthy babies were born. When the parents could no longer bear the guilt they caused the fire, and since there was no one left to care for the sick babies, the disease returned to the island. But it has nothing to do with the supposed powers of the girl Sarah who was in the mansion. Flames, since the young woman has decided to break the cycle drastically and end her life so as not to hurt anyone. And later Sarah opens her eyes and discovers that she is in the clinic on the island, and her friends tell her that she is no longer guilty of her father's sins. She replies that if she is, after all, she is her own mother, but she is one, and company tells her that her birthday has passed and she is still in the present. So the theory that she is a time traveler is not valid. Serrano understands since she has the same mark as her father, but the doctor tells her that this is a habit of her family to mark her daughters with a hot iron with the same mark. The young woman realizes that he can't go back in time for things and he gets very sad. But he demonstrates a seat of paper cranes, each one representing the desire of one of the people he helps with his massage. In this way, he reveals that even if he can't change the past, he is generating changes in the present by helping others. Sarah and Karen in a place to inform that it is probable that Rinne will invite her out on a date, since the young woman is very interested and with a catalog of clothes that she has in her house, giving to understanding that she wants to get dignified to go out with him that night. Our hero reviews all the mysterious things that happen on the island but is not upset when the queen asks her to sleep with him, and they do so. The next day the two go out on a date, although at first let her be. But as the day goes by, she begins to enjoy the outing. In this way, the two begin to get closer and closer, which annoys Sarah, since if the two have a relationship, he being a time traveler, the result it could be disastrous. However, they assure that nothing has happened. Sometime later it is a listen to another version of the legend where the original queen jumped into the ocean and died when she was separated from the original, which worries her since her friend has been acting strangely lately. Our hero goes to the beach and the two talk. They decide to tell you the truth, and he tells him that those memories have returned since he saw the cabin on the beach, so they both go there. Instead they tell him that it was the place where he used to spend time with his childhood until one day his father discovered it and threw the young man into the ocean, causing his death, since he understood that he had dark intentions towards his daughter. At the same time, during the fight, the son rose and killed the father. From Rinne, who suffered from the disease of hate, wanting to save her loved one, laughs. She jumped into the ocean, which caused her amnesia. Having removed that from her chest, the two friends lie on the beach and she tells him that legends and timelines can vary, but now at this moment and in this place they are queens. The next day, and after one of her mysterious dreams, she wakes up on the beach next to Rims, realizing that they slept all night lying on the sand. Later, while performing their hunts, our hero talks with the young woman's mother, who when asked about the status of their relationship answers that they have not had any physical intimacy since she is waiting to get to know her better, for which her mother thanks in the temple. And although they are happy for their friends Karen, he is worrying that when the session memories return, Things will not be as easy as everyone thinks. Setsuna surrenders. They spend the afternoon at the beach. But after a violent encounter with Karen and her friends, Rain warns that a great storm is approaching the island. For what they should be careful about is giving up to take some cursed ice while some paperwork is taken root, and in the ice shop the old woman who has it tells him that it runs through her and the ancient of all the times they came to the place. This activates more memories in the young woman whose past is gradually being revealed. Meanwhile in the clinic our hero takes the old woman's medication and meets the town policeman. We are going to eat blood. Policeman tells him about 5 years after his disappearance, Queen the island returned without having aged a single day, even with the same clothes, which makes our protagonist think that she could also be a time traveler, but instead of coming from the future she traveled from the past to the present. This information alerts our hero, who comes out running to meet the young woman, but she is not in the ice cream shop, but the queen is on the docks. Afraid that it will be something drastic, our hero approaches and asks you what they remember. Through tears she threw another thirst, and together they arrived at the mysterious neighboring island of Moribima, where she and a sexually injured man fought against the elements to survive, by fishing for their own food and living in a cave in the area. However, one believed that the two would return to their island, so she unfortunately built a boat. That boat only had room for a single person. Determined not to abandon her beloved queen, she refused to get on the boat. She respected the wishes of the young woman, but she hid, gave her a medicine that made her sleep, and when she woke up, the queen had returned to the island with his family and his people, although without remembering anything that happened back to the present. Our protagonist talks to the queen and tells her that even though they are both time travelers, maybe it is time to stop trying to recover their memories, since there may be a reason why they have lost them. However, this enrages me. I ruined whoever wants to attack him, and only the arrival of Sarah manages to calm the situation at Sarah's house. The young woman explains Setsuna that her memories can be the product of different timelines, which is why it is not the first time that the young man has been able to travel in time. They also realize that both his appearance and the rhythm occurred during a storm similar to the one that is coming, so they deduce that the storm is the one that opens a temporary door. This queen runs out into the storm hoping to meet her beloved queen again, steals a boat, and in the middle of a storm heads to the island of Borema hoping to find her beloved Setsuna. The daughter's closely concerned for his well-being, and when it reaches him, he tells him that he will help him fulfill his mission, and together they will go to the island. Suddenly a wave capsizes the boat. Later our heroes wake up in Ulima and Rinne runs to the cave where the real one is waiting. When they arrive at the cave to collect the rest of a campfire and sections by if you return while the predators. During your exploration of your hero finds a strange cave that inside seems to have been built by people, since it has stairs and its entrance presents warning marks as you go. They go down the stairs. The physiognomy of the cave changes to the point that it has a high-tech door inside the cave, the existence of a laboratory with a strange capsule in the center. And inside the laboratories, they find the corpse and the original Setsuna diary that reveals that after discovering the capsule and failing to build a boat, he decided to place Reina inside the capsule in the hope of saving her life. That her beloved died happy after saving her. Later our heroes bury the original corpse with due honors so that her soul can rest in peace, considering that part of her life is closed. That it is time to build a boat and go home, though she asks him for time to readjust her mind and requests to stay a few days on the island. She agrees, and the couple spends a couple of days in the fallen paradise living as she used to, except for the original, but with a better hope for the future. Wake up in his room if it is to remember how he got there, and is devastated to discover that that same day the funeral of Rims is taking place. Although he does not remember anything of what happened, the young woman's mother blames our bored hero since the lifeless body of his daughter appeared days ago almost unrecognizable. This activates some memories in Setsuna, who recalls how during the return home the two faced another storm of wheels, sacrificed himself for him to arrive safe and sound. Days go by and Setsuna has lost his will to live. When you receive a visit from Momoka Yama's Buki, I learned it from Karen's mother that together with Rime one's mother she has a proposal for our protagonist. The two women take to Karen's mother's laboratory where our hero discovers a capsule similar to the one he found on Momoka Island. Explains to him that although it sounds incredible, that capsule is not their creation but a discovery, and after carrying out different tests they had no doubt that it is used to travel in time by placing a person in a state of suspended animation or traveling to the past, with our hero asking if he is willing to save Rhines, and he agrees to travel to the past with the dangers involved to rescue his young friend. In this way our hero says goodbye to his friends on the island while preparing to embark on a perilous journey in the self-contained underground shelter known as the island. Our heroes find themselves in a completely different environment with no clear explanation. The idea of a Euro paradise has become a place where the inhabitants depend on rations of food provided by the church to survive. In this group are Setsuna and her friend Rinne copyright who look for food, while an adult and powerful Sarah speaks on behalf of the church, assuring the town that everything will be fine. However, this tranquility is interrupted when a group of children led by a different version of Karen attacks the public district to steal food. During the attack, Sarah is injured, so our heroes rush to rescue her and leave danger on her shoulders, which causes Rim's jealousy and does not appear so close physical. During the group confrontation he meets Karen, but she manages to escape after kicking her with acetone. Sarah explains that the children are part of a group of people without labels, the invisible inhabitants of Queen Island. Comments that she had heard of them but never he had seen that they dared to steal food in such a public way, which reveals his desperation that night. A conversation with Rhine's father about the existence of Avalon, a magical and quality land where everyone is treated equally. However, Avalon is considered a myth, since the church's attempts to find her have failed and no one who went looking for her has returned. The old man warns Setsuna that he dares us to lay hands on his daughter or he will face dire consequences. In a strange device that she signs will be the key to save the world. As a surprise, try it and it gets into the capsule. When you activate it, the device breaks down, but it is an experience that time has felt much longer inside the capsule than outside of it. Later our heroes meet Wax, who asks them to accompany her on a mission. They go down to one of the subtitles of the island where Sarah distributes food. The children without labels who live there, while they distribute the food, Lay one approaches a girl to give food, but she knocks him out with a single blow. This blow activates some memories in Setsuna, and we see how he was found in a mysterious capsule and later adopted by Rinne and her father. When Tuna wakes up, he finds semi-naked Karen trying to seduce him to obtain information from the church. Although they appreciate Sarah, they distrust the organization and its plans. However, their conversation is interrupted when a group of soldiers attack the children and the group. This could be avoided if someone found Avalon. It will be revealed that the stories of Avalon are half true, since I met they came back from the quest, but they were killed by the church when they declared that Avalo doesn't exist, and the island is the only city in the world. Later he informs the group that the children have been captured by the soldiers, and a public execution has been announced, determined to cut him off from the cruelty of the rulers. It is a queen orders him to stay in his lab and protect the machine even though he is gone. According to the request of our protagonists Setsuna, Sarah and Karen infiltrate through the back of the cathedral, but unfortunately they discover that they have arrived too late. When they find the bodies of the unlabeled children, invites to make things worse. Everything was an ambush and now the group is surrounded by enemy soldiers ready to shoot without hesitation. Tragic confirmation comes when a follower of Sarah gets in the way and is shot several times. The group has captured and Sierra is shot in the leg. Sarah's father addresses the public, but also one of the cardinals is murdered, accuses Sarah and her group of wanting those responsible, and condemns them to the stake. Terrified, the town accepts the sentence and soon they place our heroes on a stone to be executed. Only the quick action of Rinne could not stay in the rear. He manages to save to her friends using fireworks to scare people. Aware that they have nowhere to escape on the island, the group ventures into the frozen outside world where she surrenders, reveals her offspring from a cave that could serve as a refuge. However, Sarah succumbs to her injuries and dies before reaching the cave, but not before asking the people and not judging her for her actions while they were scared. Upon reaching the cave, Suna recognizes that the same cave from the island of the past and accidentally activates the laboratory. The group passes several weeks at home, but they soon discover that Karen has been the victim of a strange disease related to sunlight. Knowing the situation, Tuna tells them that Isla must so that Karen receives medical attention. The group returns and takes one face to the hospital, only to discover upon arrival that the girl has passed away with her memories in order of reckoning. I reined in everything she knows, and she reveals that she has discovered that the machine is a time machine, but instead of traveling to the past to fix things, they traveled to the past, future. However, Queen is sure that she can adjust the coordinates to make that an old lady has passed and thus solve things. Both continue working on a special night, improvise 2 rings, and declares her love to Rinne. The comedy suggests that they get married, although it's unofficial, and he accepts, following their love back in the present. She's an expert at the beach once again, but this time with her memories intact and with the knowledge necessary to save her friends and the world. Events unfold similarly to the previous time. Karen first finds him on the beach naked, and then they all end up at the police station. However, determined to change the future, our hero uses his knowledge to help. As he escapes from the police station, warns him Karen, who does not try to hide in a boat to flee. What surprises the young woman is a conversation with Karen's friends, and she makes them notice that the young woman has been acting strangely lately. suggesting that they should talk to her so that she tries to hide in the boat to escape, but her friends go ahead of her and ask her what's wrong. They offered their help. Satisfied with himself, Setsuna prepares to rest on the beach, waiting for their next meeting. That Queen Knight seems to be singing on the beach and meets Suna, although that she introduces how she joins the sure one that is not the same sex she already knew, but assures her that in the future she will find love again. She laughs at something she hasn't done for a long time and hires Setsuna again as her butler. She appears before the queen's mother and she gets ready to work, laughing. She is surprised at how well she radiates her chores by cooking and doing the chores exactly the way she likes, as well as always being a bit ahead of her needs while you have breakfast. She visits, and although she was waiting. They go with her to the temple, but not before promising the queen that she will return to the temple if you don't tell Sarah everything, and she decides to believe even when she reveals confidential information about herself. That Queen Knight. It's a walk on the beach, and our hero AniMaan reveals to him that he is aware of this disease and the fact that he is suffering from sulfur, but he assures him that he will give him all the time in the world to recover and will accompany him at every step. Feeling supported, there is a queen to overcome his fear of the sun much faster than in the previous timeline. Sometime later, Karen and her friends travel to the city, where Karen visits her mother's grave and discovers more about her past. With Sarah's birthday comes the realization that her destiny is not the one she believed. Fills her with joy while the girl celebrates on the beach that his presence has been very positive in the lives of the young women, but he knows that there is still a loose end to close and a person to help. The next day, Suna takes the queen to the beach and then to the island, where the fate of the original sex and the mysteries surrounding the island are revealed to her. Although at first she is devastated, Rinne recovers and frees herself from a weight by finally being able to say goodbye as a young man to whom he loved and moved on with his life. Over time, he continues to move forward and the family is closer than ever. Even Rinne realizes that the prophecy that she would fall in love again is Yarta, since she is falling in love with him at another time. Sarah, who thanks him for all the positive things he has done for the family. If the other two see some old photo books, however, a photo of Rinne's mother, our hero notices something that completely changes his mood, which worries Sarah. In his room, when he finishes making final adjustments to a capsule he has in his room, revealing issues that he is wearing the same ring he gave Rinne in the future when they got married. Setsuna is determined to talk to her about his suspicions, but decides to do some research, but before making a mistake. However, all the clues point to the same conclusion, with that reality the future Rinne, who has been living in the same house that he is suspected. It is confirmed when Rinne's is one. They investigate the queen's father's diaries and discover that the Cuba, although they know, in reality, she is a young woman who appeared naked on the beach and was adopted by the family patriarch as a maid. It turns out that the real Cuba died suddenly, and after she showed signs of pregnancy, the father of the family decided to pass her off as the true goon to maintain the balance of power on the island, since if the other families found out about the death of the last Ohara, there would only be two families left. The queen accepted and adopted the name Kun, but asked that they call the mascara baby Suna. He then realizes why he always has an effect on Rinne, but he never felt the need to take their relationship further, since that reality is Rinne. His queen daughter cries inconsolably due to the leash. It is true that the young woman flees from the mansion while Sarah and Karen you explain what happened, that you are a time traveler who comes from the future, and that is the reason why you know so many things. At that moment, Momoka appears out of nowhere to chop things up, since it seems that she had always seen no invitation and to explain things. The scientist reveals that the capsule is not capable of traveling in time, but that it is a capsule of suspended animation and can only travel forwards. She says that this is not possible since she has memories of the future and of events that are to come to happen, but Monoka explains that apparently he only travels forward in a universe that is constantly restarting, where events repeat themselves perfectly. With this information, our hero finally confronts Kun, who admits that he is the original queen and that he traveled in another capsule to be with him, but he woke up years before they both meet and even reconcile with the rhythm of those who accept the two as their parents. So life goes on. Now he gives up again. They get married and their friends head towards a future full of hopes. With this confusing end to the series reaches its conclusion. Fortunately, to a certain extent the unknowns are resolved. If you have any questions you can ask aloud, and it is possible that Momoka appears behind you to explain something and then disappears. For my part 1, say goodbye until next time.